Hello everyone. In this tutorial we will see a way to apply logos or, in general, decorations, the decals, on the surface of objects in Substance Painter. In particular, we will use the brushes on the layers. Moreover, to give a material to the decorations, we will make use of a substance tool that I have not covered so far in my video tutorials, the anchors. I'll show you immediately what I want to achieve. I want to apply logos on the 3D model that you can see on video right now, but I want to provide a material to these decals, so I have to find a way to give the brushstrokes with a texture in a layer and to apply, meanwhile, another material, with the exception of its base color of course, only in the parts defined by the texture. This is a medium advanced tutorial, which means that I will take for granted the information on the tools and techniques covered in the video tutorials previously published in the Substance Painter playlist on my YouTube channel, so I strongly recommend you to see those video tutorial before this one. The tutorial was made with the 2019 version of Substance Painter, but the anchors are already available from the 2017 version, so this information is also valid for later versions. Okay, that being said, let's get started. I imported the logos in the form of color PNG images with transparency from File Import Resources in the Textures section. I do not have their opacity masks and I don't even want to create them in a drawing or photo editing program, because, as we will see, we can get them inside Substance. The model is already equipped with its own base material, but the logos must use a different material, with other roughness effects, etc. So it is not sufficient to add a layer, select a brush, provide the texture to the base color of the brush and click on the points on the surface of the object, because this operation would have the effect of applying the image on the base color only, leaving the other characteristics as in the underlying material. Also, as you can see, the brush creates a halo around the logo, due to the fact that the opacity is uniform. If we also supply the same logo image to the opacity channel of the brush, the situation does not improve much. The opacity will use the colors of the image as grayscale values, as we can see by switching to the opacity display mode of the 3D window. We therefore need a way to apply a material only in the parts defined by our brushstrokes, while using the brush logo as the base color of the material. The material, therefore, should use the brushstrokes in the layer as an opacity mask. Here comes the anchors. Anchors are substance tools that basically function as references, in the sense that an object, such as a layer mask or even a filter or generator, can use the information of another object, which will act as a reference, as long as you add an anchor to it. In our case, therefore, we can proceed as follows. We can add the material we want to use for the logo. I'm using a metallic material. Not very appropriate for a decoration, but I want to show you the effects on various channels, such as roughness, metallic, etc. Giving it in particular a completely black layer mask and deactivating the color channel, because we want to use the texture of the brush strokes. We then add an empty layer to insert the logos with a brush, a basic hard one, in my case, because I don't want soft edges, taking care to activate only the color channel for the brush. Depending on the model in use, it might be useful to activate the symmetry tool, so as to click on one side of the object and get a brushstroke on the other as well, depending on how the axis of symmetry is set. At this point, right-click on the layer and choose Add Anchor Point. A new element will appear, with an anchor icon and with the same name as the layer, but we can rename it, of course. The layer can now be used by another object, even in another material. We select the material, metallic type, in my case. Right-click on the black layer mask and choose Add Fill, to add a fill layer, which will initially have a uniform color, a shade of gray, as visible in the grayscale section of the Properties tab. So the metallic material will be applied with moderate intensity over the entire surface of the object. Let's click on Properties Grayscale and click on Anchor Points, but something is wrong. We can't click on this tab. I made this mistake on purpose to underline one thing. Anchor points must be placed, in the layers stack, under the objects that must use them. I added the layer with the brushstrokes after the material I intended to use, so now I have to drag the layer under the material. After doing this, you will be able to select the anchor point in the fill layer of the mask of the material. As you can see, now the metallic material is applying its properties, metallicness, roughness, normals, etc. only in the areas defined by the brush strokes we have given in the underlying layer. Most importantly, the base color is not that of the metallic material, but the texture defined in the paint layer. Be warned, though, we're not done with the settings yet. By switching to metallic display mode, in fact, we notice that the logo is metallic only in the white parts of the image. This means that, in reality, the material is applied considering the texture also as an opacity mask, and this is not good. To solve this problem, we select the fill layer of the material mask, then change the anchor's alpha behavior from keep alpha, selected by default, to extract alpha. Done. Now the material is applied correctly, proportionally to the transparency of the images, in correspondence with the textures applied by brushstrokes in the underlying layer. The anchor acts on the entire painting layer, so we can also change the texture of the brush, insert other images or logos on the model and find the material connected to the anchor of the layer, even in the new images. The American flag is only partially shown because the image used as the texture is rectangular, but the brush is round. Better make the images square, adding transparency to the missing parts using a photo editing program, before importing them into Substance. So far I have used Basic Hard to give a full fill to textures, but of course you can also use other brushes, for example to obtain a drawing effect or to give the impression of a damaged logo, partially erased due to wear, etc. In summary, anchors allow you to use the properties of a layer as masks for other materials, filters or generators. If you want to apply images through brushstrokes, keeping the original base color, but you also want to provide them with a particular material, you can give the brushstrokes in a layer, with the color channel only, add an anchor to this layer, then add the desired material and, using the fill, grayscale of the material layer mask, use the anchor as a reference, taking care to change keep alpha to extract alpha, if necessary. Well, that's all for this tutorial. As usual, I invite you to express doubts, questions or requests for clarification in the comments to the video. See you soon.